Today I'm talking with David Gilmore of Coldwell Banker Bain in Bend, Oregon. How are you today, David?
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about a brief overview of the Boston market, and I'm going to ask David to share his knowledge of the market, the real estate market out in Bend, Oregon. So I'm just going to start here. I want to start with a map, because I find that when I'm talking about the Boston area, it always helps people when I bring up a map to the area. So Boston, as you can see, is a port city. And right down here, we have this downtown Boston. This is Boston proper, around this area. And out here, you see some of the close suburbs, Arlington, Somerville, Cambridge. Cambridge right here is where MIT and Harvard University are located. So what we're seeing here in 2019, the average price for a condo is $1.4 million. Now, condos are, important to Boston because it's a city. So some of the houses are not as common as they are. So here we'll see the Beacon Hill, Back Bay, South End. This is where some of the highest price real estate is. The low can be about 425,000 with a high of 7 million. That's probably some of the beautiful brick townhouses that you'll see in this part of the city. Here we have the greater Boston area. You can see the highways 93 and Route 1, and over here Route 2. Those all go to northern New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And right down here we see Route 3 South and 3A. These are headed more towards Rhode Island and the Massachusetts Cape Cod area. And out here is Route 90, the Mass Pike. That's going to take you to Connecticut and New York. So Boston really does have a lot of hub thinking involved in it. They call it the hub, actually, one of the nicknames. And we can see right here, 128 around here, the inner suburbs, as we talked about, and outer suburbs out here. We're talking about an average of $800,000 for a single family home. Now in this area, that is typically what you see. I mean, you do have condos and all that. The high is about 4 million and the low can be about 400,000 depending on where you are. So there, it's kind of a very diverse area economically. You have high price point real estate and more affordable real estate for those who may just be looking maybe for an investment property or first time home thing. And some of the major industries we have here are higher ed, pharmaceutical, finance, and high tech. We don't have a large military presence, although we do have some bases in the area. But in the greater Boston area, those are some of the common industries. So what I will do is now I'll switch over to you, David.
Okay.
And let's hear some about you and in your area.
All right. Well, as David mentioned, I'm David Gilmore, Coldwell Banker Bain in Bend, Oregon. I'm originally from San Diego, California, and I started my real estate career in 1998 down in San Diego and relocated to Bend in 2009 and have been active in real estate up here since that time. So I've seen quite a shift in the marketplace as I kind of entered this new market as the recession was hitting. So I saw that initial downturn and then was here and working through the trough, which we gauge as November of 2011, and then have seen the significant uptick in the market pricing since probably about 2012 is I think when our recovery started. And it's been pretty aggressive over the last few years. Our median home price at the trough of the market was about 166,000. And last month's median price was about 449,000. So quite a significant recovery in a relatively short amount of time. And our pre-recession median high was about 396,000. So we're considerably above that at this point in time. And I would say our major industries here are our regional hospital, which is actually the largest employer in the area. We have actually a significantly fast-growing tech sector with a lot of telecommuters. CNBC actually did an article on us about a year and a half ago, calling Bend the prime commuter city for Silicon Valley, even though we're a 10-hour drive and about an hour flight from that region. We've seen a boom in people moving from the Bay Area to Bend for lifestyle, and cost of living is it's significantly less to live here than anywhere in the Bay Area. And we've got great access to the outdoors. And we actually have a strong entrepreneurial spirit here in Bend. I think I read an article recently that said of all the new businesses started in Bend, about 90% or so were started by people who had just moved to the area. So a strong kind of independent business spirit here. We've got a really strong craft brew beer scene. Oregon is a state with legalized marijuana, so we're seeing hemp kind of following that industry. I actually have some personal friends that did a hemp harvest this past year. So kind of interesting to watch that. We've got secondary education in Bend. We've got one community college, and then Oregon State University has an extension campus here that opened recently, and they're expanding that campus as we speak. So they'll be at about a 5,000 student capacity when it's fully built out. So I think that's a big draw and a big asset for the area. I would say, though, what we're looking at is a housing shortage in our region. We've got currently on the market less than 2 months of inventory, and that is continuing to drive prices up as there's not enough supply to really meet current demand. So unfortunately, a lot of first-time buyers and entry-level home buyers are being priced out of the market and are having to look at some of the other cities here in Central Oregon.
That's interesting you say that, because it's kind of similar to Boston with the inventory situation as well too, with people being priced out of some of the closer Boston suburbs that I had shown you, and going out to sometimes even southern New Hampshire as being viewed as a greater suburbs of Boston. So it's interesting to see that. So is there same kind of pressure with rentals then? Since when you say students, I'm assuming there's going to be, an important rental component to the market out there as well. Would that be correct to say?
I think so. I think what we're seeing is a shortage of rentals as well. Bend being a relatively small city of less than 100,000 currently, a lot of longtime residents are not keen or fond of these large apartment complexes that have recently sprung up. But it's, and it's just a necessity of the marketplace. And the interesting thing is those apartments, even say that one bedroom apartments are averaging around $1,200 or $1,300 a month. And if you figure, because Bend is a very popular tourist destination as well, we're considered like one of the top ski resort towns by National Geographic, actually.
Cool.
So we have a very large kind of service industry sector. And if you think of those as lower paying positions, whether part-time or just, without benefits, it's hard to make a $1,200 or $1,300 a month rent payment, on minimum wage. So it's interesting that people in, say, their first, maybe their first permanent job after college, or if they're just in some type of entry-level position, it's becoming increasingly difficult for them to afford to live in Bend. So one of the popular options is a city just north of us, which is Redmond, Oregon. And they have a population of about 25,000. And you're probably looking anywhere from a 10 to 20% price difference on both rentals and home purchase prices. So that's, I think, pretty significant when you're talking about, lower wage earners.
That's probably very helpful then for them to have another option like that nearby. What is
Yeah,
the commute like then? Is that 'cause here in Boston, we're used to everything being very tightly compact, but yet it can still take 45 minutes to drive
sure.
like 2 miles because
Yeah. So Redmond, Oregon, distance-wise, is about 15 miles north of Bend, and
okay,
that really translates to probably a 15 to 20-minute commute.
that's good.
Obviously, yeah, in winter months, winter months could probably take 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
You do travel on a main highway between the two cities, so you've got a main thoroughfare that the Oregon Department of Transportation does a pretty good job of keeping clear of snow and ice. But yeah, an interesting phenomenon to see um, a lot of the growth in Bend kind of shift to some of these less expensive areas.
Mhm.
Redmond, downtown Redmond in particular, has seen a huge kind of growth factor as far as redevelopment in their core. A lot of new businesses and amenities have gone in over the last 5 years, and they've really kind of made a push to kind of better that Redmond lifestyle
Okay.
while maintaining that affordability factor. So I think it's great to have options.
Mhm.
What I like to tell people is within Central Oregon, I mean, you've got prices from 200,000 to 20 million. So it's a wide, range of prices.
Yeah.
So there's typically, something for everyone in any price point, which I think is great because a lot of times, as in Boston,
Mhm.
your entry point is high to begin with, and it only goes up from there.
Yeah, it's in some communities. I just helped a buyer get a home in Chelmsford, actually in the north of the city, approaching New Hampshire as well. That was about 425 for a nice home. It's like a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, but it needs work. So sometimes you are getting a home that is so that's kind of the trade-off that buyers need to do. It's like, okay, do I want a perfect new home, which is sometimes what they hope for, but you might want to look at homes that could use a little bit of TLC, nothing major, just like maybe update the kitchen, that kind of thing. And you can find that affordability factor even in places like Arlington, which is just a town or two out of Boston, but still with access to our subway system, you can get some condos for like 285, but they're like 2 bedroom condos.
Uh,
So that'd be fine for short term for some people
sure.
who are maybe having going to college in town or something that can live out in Arlington temporarily. But it usually does require somebody knowing the market, and you can only do online searches so far. That only takes some of these consumers so far. So I'm curious, the numbers you had mentioned before, that the 200,000 to the 20 million mark, are those single family homes?
Mostly. So what I find interesting is even as a resort community with a large contingent of kind of second home and vacation homeowners, we don't have a lot of condos in Bend or multifamily properties. I think
Okay.
I could be mistaken, but my thought on that is because it has been such an affordable area to buy into, and it's had great kind of a sense of open space within the community that people tend to lean towards the single family home model versus a condo where maybe if they're in Portland or Seattle or San Francisco, they're trying to get out of that type of living. um, so yeah, it's condos and townhomes make up a pretty small percentage of our marketplace. I would say that 200,000 to 250 price point is probably going to get you, say, a manufactured home. So we do have some of that product available, which I think is a good stepping stone for someone or a retiree, perhaps just wanting to cash out of, maybe a larger single family home and they just want, a comfortable place to live.
Mhm.
Um, And once you start to approach about the $300,000 mark, you'll start to see single family properties. We do have what I call kind of luxury townhomes. So they tend to be in the sort of 500 to million two, million three type of mark. So definitely not seen as an affordable option by most people.
Yeah.
I think they're really geared towards that sort of wealthier retiree, or that wealthy second homeowner that wants something low maintenance that maybe they only use a few months out of the year when they go skiing at Mount Bachelor, or when they're here to play golf in the summer. So it's an interesting phenomenon, because in San Diego and in larger cities, condos and townhomes are generally seen as kind of an entry point into the marketplace. Um, so as an example, there's a brand new condo development here, just actually 2 blocks from my office. And there's 9 total units,
Mm-hmm.
and the 1 bedrooms were about 500,000, and the kind of 2 bedroom, sort of what we'll call the penthouse unit, I think was about 900,000.
There's definitely kind of almost a resort side to the town where people downsizing to the area, right? Would you say that?
Yes.
Then you have your college students, you have your remote tech folks working, which I think is really interesting. I interviewed another agent in Charleston, South Carolina, and they have something similar. They have a community of folks who work for entertainment industry in Los Angeles, and they telecommute, they do video editing, that kind of thing. So it is interesting to see how technology is somehow enabling or allowing kind of different markets to appear in different areas, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, I was talking to an agent out of Asheville, North
Okay.
Carolina. And they have a similar, I think, similar demographic as Bend, as far as the type of people they draw in,
Mhm.
and sort of their emerging industries. And, they have a lot of recreation available down there as well, and kind of that, small town ambiance, but
Yeah.
then within relatively easy access to, major cities, if someone needs those amenities, or, wants to get to those amenities. So I think, yeah, it is interesting that these sort of once sleepy towns are sort of waking up and kind of burgeoning into, fairly popular places to live,
Mm.
as people are able to, work from home and still maintain employment in a, major city.
Fascinating. And obviously in Bend, that would be more the what you were calling the Silicon Valley area, that people are kind of remote commuting
Yeah,
from.
mostly. I'd say Silicon Valley, and then I would probably say Seattle
Okay.
is probably the next largest city for telecommuters. I know there are several people that live in the area here that work for Amazon,
Oh, okay.
so different capacities. Um, so yeah, with that big presence just north of us, I'd say that's probably the next largest city. And then I think, Southern California probably after that.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a fair number of people that do commute from the Bend area down to Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego.
Okay. It's interesting to see the different connections between different regions, and how that plays out, which is pretty interesting. So you cover then Bend, Oregon, and you spread out was like a 15-mile radius or so, or do you travel more? I'm curious to
Yeah,
see
try
that.
not to go too much beyond that, just because our region geographically is fairly large.
Yeah.
Um, so there's an area called South County, which is we're in Deschutes County, and so
Mhm.
southern Deschutes County includes several smaller communities that I am not active in.
Yeah.
And so they're about 20, 25 minutes south of Bend. So I cover Bend, Redmond, Oregon, which again is about 15 to 20 minutes north.
Yeah.
Sisters, Oregon, which is about 25 minutes north of Bend. And then there's a resort community called Brasada Ranch that's about
Mm.
half an hour from Bend. and then Sun River, which is about 15 minutes to the south. That's a big resort destination with a lot of vacation homes, second homes, and that. And I'll do that once in a while, but if we get too outlying, I'll generally refer business to someone who's much more familiar and active in those communities, because
Yeah.
I do try to focus mostly on, on Bend.
Okay, so that just logically is makes more sense too, because I up here we tend to travel a little bit, but any further than like 45-minute drive, it's going to be hard
Sure,
to
sure.
take care of a property remotely like that. Although I've done it in the past for like past clients and all that. So okay, so that's really interesting. So you have your winter ski resorts, and it sounds like there's probably a summer
Yes. So,
recreation
yeah,
around
so
the
we're going to
area
have,
too.
we're in a 4-season climate.
Yeah.
So in the summer, golf is probably the big one, big sport. And then we have, I would call it water recreation. So the Deschutes River actually runs right through the middle of Bend, which is great.
Uh,
So we've got kayaking and boating opportunities, and the Cascade Lakes region is about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Bend, and so some really great access to getting out on the water. Fly fishing is very popular here as well. Um, and then rock climbing, I'm beginning to learn. Central Oregon is actually a rock climbing mecca. So
oh,
we've got what's called Smith Rock State Park,
yeah.
about 40 minutes, probably 40 minutes north of town. And that's quite a popular destination for rock climbers. So
Mhm.
I've just realized that we've kind of we're on that forefront of that sport as it began to emerge. So it's kind of interesting. So yeah, lots of opportunities, regardless of what your interest is. I'd say mountain biking also is very big out here. Just being out in nature.
Sounds like it's really good for folks who are kind of outdoor buffs and
Oh
love
yeah,
getting their
definitely.
sports on. It sounds like a wonderful area to be in. Um, that's great. So is there anything else you want to point out about Bend, Oregon?
I think it's a great place to live.
Mm,
I've been here again since 2009 and don't have any regrets after growing up in Southern California, which is paradise for most people.
mm,
And it is obviously a beautiful place with beautiful weather. But with that sort of come what I call, big city problems and big city challenges. And I definitely like this small town vibe. To me, Bend is kind of the perfect blend of a small town and a big city,
yeah.
because you get that kind of close knit feeling and sense of community. And then, I mean, really every weekend, even through the winter months, there's probably a dozen different activities and events going on. Um, so it really is a very active community. So you can be out and about as much as you want to be,
Mm,
or you could be a homebody, by your cozy fire in the winter if you want. And
okay.
to me, it's just a great lifestyle up here.
That's wonderful. It sounds great. So if people wanted to, what would be the best way for people to reach you in case they wanted to learn a little bit more about the area?
Sure, they can reach me directly on my cell phone, and
Okay.
that would be they can call or text me, and that's 619-203-1749, or they can email me, and that's David Gilmore at cbbain.com, and that's BAIN.com.
Thank you. I was about to ask if there's an alternative spelling to that. Okay, well, thank you so much. This was informative, a lot of great information, and we'll be in touch. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for including me.
Thank you.